Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an honor and a privilege to have you guys here. Bunch of friends standing around a virtual water cooler talking about our favorite things in the world, movies, entertainment, TV show, whatever kind of stuff you guys want to talk about. That's what we're here to discuss on Open Mic. Now, every day on the John Campea Show, we take a little bit of time to take some open questions, but that's all we do here on Open Mic is 1 hour of taking live questions. So, without any further ado, let's dive right into it. And the first question today comes to us from Adam Griffin, who writes, after 8 weeks, Black Panther has an average drop of 36%. Homecoming and Guardians 2 had an average of 40%. Let's say Infinity War has a 40% average. After 8 weeks, it'll be approximately $6 million based on $225 million opening tracking, close to Black Panther's $8.7 million. Okay, here's the one big problem with that though, Adam, is that, like, when you look, we talked about this on the John Campea Show earlier today. When you looked at the decline rate of, say, Black Panther, right, over the 8 weeks, as we highlighted on the John Campea Show today, 0 movies that opened to 100 million or more opened within the first 8 weeks of Black Panther. That means no serious stiff competition. And as a matter of fact, in its entire first 8 weeks, only one other movie opened to 50 million or more, and that was just this weekend with A Quiet Place. Avengers Infinity War faces a very, very different challenge. There are no less than 4 films opening within the first 8 weeks of Infinity War that have legitimate chances of all opening to over $100 million. You're talking about Deadpool 2, you're talking about Solo, you're talking about The Incredibles 2, and you're talking about Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. These are all, and a couple of them are going to be monster hits. Maybe they all could be monster hits, but they'll probably all of them open to over 100 million. 4 films. Black Panther faced no films that opened to 100 million or more in its first 8 weeks, and only one film that even made 50. So it's a very different path. It's a very different landmine-filled field in front of it that Infinity War has, as opposed to Black Panther. Look, I still believe Black Panther doesn't make as much money as Infinity War. I still think Infinity War makes more money than Black Panther, but I do not think it'll have that same week-to-week average drop that Black Panther did, because Black Panther faced a much easier path to get there, as opposed to Avengers Infinity War. So that's the big difference to me. We'll have to see how that all kind of works out. All right, Kyle B writes, hey, John, just became a Patreon supporter. Love your work. Thank you so much, Kyle. Thank you for becoming a Patreon supporter. You make this channel possible, so thank you so much, man. Drew G writes, have you ever seen Felipe 3, The Dark Might Rises? Man, Felipe thanks you for your fan, for being a fan. Kyle B writes, I have 2 autistic siblings. That's why I loved The Accountant. It was nice to see someone with autism be a badass and smart, and it builds awareness. Yeah, and you know what? That kind of piggybacks on the email we got from Dee the other day, talking about that as well. And that is something that I think a lot of people like myself, because I've never been personally touched with anybody in my family or stuff like that with the issue of autism. So I think while I thought watching Accountant, it's like, oh, that's cool, like the hero's autism, that's kind of cool, I don't think it really had the same impact, or I didn't realize how relevant or important that would be to some people, because it's not something I've experienced, right? But then talking to more and more fans who have been touched by autism in their lives through themselves personally or through direct family members, it really made me appreciate even more what kind of a movie The Accountant was and what it was able to do. So I thought that was great. All right, next one comes us from K.W. Garrett, who writes, I watched Megaforce. Damn right you did. Megaforce. Life is a wheel. It all comes around. I watched Megaforce thanks to you. Yikes, those gold unitards. Some 80s movies I like. Night Shift, Splash, and especially Better Off Dead. I want my $2. Yeah, Megaforce is just one of those movies, man. It's like one of those ultimate guilty pleasure movies. I don't even know if you can get it on Blu-ray. I certainly don't know if you can get it anywhere on streaming. But Megaforce is so... It was a poor man's version of G.I. Joe. It was an international conglomeration where all the free countries of the world donated the best of the best military together to make this terrorist fighting military unit called Megaforce. Of course it's called Megaforce. And it's so cheesy. And it had the guy who played Devon in Knight Rider. He was a small role, but he was in there. It was a funny thing. And the main hero's name was Ace. That was the main hero. I kid you, I can't make this up. Main hero's name was Ace, for heaven's sakes. All right, glad you had a chance to see that, KW. All right, Adamus95 writes, after The Last Jedi, I found it weird that people were complaining about Leia using the Force, considering her brothers Luke and her dad's Darth Vader. Thoughts? Well, to be honest, for the most part, I didn't find people were complaining that Leia used the Force. I found that people were more complaining about how she used the Force, the manifestation of the Force. Like, she survived in the vacuum of space, and then she flew through space to get back onto the ship. Again, it's not that people were complaining that she was using the Force, because it's not just that her father was Vader and Luke is her brother. It's the fact that Luke very specifically says in Return of the Jedi, you have it too. Like, he pointed out, because he could sense that Leia is a Force user. Whether she was actively using the Force at that point or not, Leia is a Force user. So, yeah, what I found is that most people weren't complaining that Leia had the ability to use the Force. Their main concern and problem was with how she went about using the Force. And that's another debate for another time, but I found that that's what they were complaining about. Okay, next one. Sharana Aurora writes, did you watch Megalobox? You can see it on Crunchyroll. No, I didn't. I'll be honest with you, I probably won't. I've got like 18 other like 5-season shows that I'm supposed to get caught up on. So I got to admit, I will probably not get around to Megalobox. But there may be other people watching this show who would be interested in that. And now you've put that on their radar, so that's probably a benefit for everybody. By the way, speaking of shows I'm starting to binge, a couple of weeks ago, a number of you guys mentioned to me Into the Badlands. Never watched it. Started watching it last night. I'm hooked. I just blew through the first 4 episodes, just bang, 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 and then I finally made myself go to bed. I don't know if you can tell, I'm a little bit tired today because I got to bed way late last night. But yep, I am completely on board with Into the Badlands. Speaking of shows I'm trying to get caught up on. So thank you to all of you guys who were recommending I get caught up on it. Let's see, Adamus writes, for me it made sense because of her heritage. Well, going back to the late thing, again, it's not about heritage because Force using other than Vader to Luke has never been an issue in Star Wars. That's never been a thing. So to me, it wasn't so much heritage. It was really just more the fact that Luke said to her directly, you have it too. Like, he could tell that she had it. So that's the bigger thing to me. Anthony R. writes, John, thanks for being awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anthony. I appreciate that, man. AFC writes, hot toy close-up tour of your collection. It's not much of a collection. Like I said, I only got about 4 pieces. And you can kind of see them. You got, there's Boba Fett. And there's the alien, and there's my favorite, that's Jor-El, and of course the Odin Allfather Odin right there. So yeah, maybe I'll bring them over at some point. I'm not going to do it right now, but maybe at some point I'll bring them over. You can get a close-up look at them. But you can just look up pictures of them online. Hot Toys Boba Fett, Hot Toys Alien, Hot Toys Jor-El, Hot Toys Odin, and you should be able to get good pictures of them. Those are the ones that I have back there. Let's see. Brett Wart writes, whatever happened to with Rounders 2? They talked about it for a long time. I love the original. I watch it every time it's on. P.S. Will you do a Teddy KGB impression? I have no idea what Teddy KGB is. So as far as Rounders 2, yeah, there was some talk of it. But listen, for every 100 movies that get talked about them doing, 1 or 2 get made. And that's just the thing. Like, it's easy for people to talk about movies. Lots of movies get in the discussion stage. Lots of movies get talked about. But not very many actually happen. For every 1 movie you see hit the screen, 100 of them didn't make it. So I don't actually think Rounders 2 ever got to the serious stage. You know what I mean? There was talking about it, blah, blah, blah. But I never think it got serious. So, and I love rounders. Again, I'm a poker guy, so clearly, but I love rounders, but a sequel is a stretch. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see it because I'm a poker guy, but I really don't see where you go with a rounders sequel, to be honest. Anthony R. writes, I know we keep bombarding you with the Spider-Man game news, but if Ray ever gets it, tell him to bring it to your house. It will be awesome. I'll send the pic of the Gentle Giant statue when I get it. Yeah, a lot of people have been telling me about this new Spider-Man game coming out. I don't know much about it, but the thing that Anthony and a few other guys told me about that has really caught my attention was that the game comes with the Gentle Giant statue of Spider-Man, which to me is almost worth it, like for the price of the game alone, right? So that has caught my attention a lot. But yes, if Ray gets it, I will tell him to bring it over. Maybe I'll even record myself playing it. K.O. Rourke94 writes, would Disney ever consider remaking Hunchback of Notre Dame in live action? Well, it's a good question. I like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. It was a dark, for Disney animation, the Hunchback of Notre Dame was a dark film. And there were some parts of it that were actually quite adult. And I think it's prime for a remake. But here's the thing, though. There have been live-action incarnations of the Hunchback of Notre Dame before, right? So it's not like it would be a completely original thing. But if Disney continues to have success with these live-action remakes, I thought they knocked it out of the park with their Cinderella remake. Obviously, the Jungle Book one was great. We've got Lion King coming up here soon. We got a bunch of others. We got Mulan coming. If they continue to do well, then at some point, they're going to need to push further and further into their library. And Hunchback might become one of those. So if you're asking if Disney would ever consider it, yeah, I think they would consider it. I think it's something that is a possibility. Anthony R. writes, God of War comes out in 10 days. Collection Edition also has a Gentle Giant stat. Is that a big thing with the video game industry right now? Most of the games I play are on my PC. I don't play a lot of, I've got a Xbox One, but quite frankly, I don't play it very much. Is that a new thing? Are they including more and more of these collectible statues with the console games? That's interesting if it is. It's an interesting promotional gimmick. KW Garrett writes, DCEU reboot begins with World's Greatest Lover 2020. For those of you who don't know what KW is talking about, earlier today on the show, on the John Campea show earlier today, I was trying to make an example about how having legs for a movie is not the same as box office success. Just that having lanes is one of the contributing factors. That's all. And I gave two movie examples. In one movie example, I said, imagine Steven Spielberg decides to make the biopic John Campea, World's Greatest Lover. Anyway, so that's what KW is throwing back to. Thanks for that, KW. Patrick Conway writes, have you ever watched Love Hate, a TV show about the Irish crime underworld? It starred Aidan Gillian, Ruth Negga, and Ebony Maw in Infinity War. Very dark, very brutal. I'll be honest with you, man, I never even heard of it. I've never even heard of it. Is that something that's on Netflix now? Love Hate. Yeah, what network? Well, do me a favor, leave in the comments section below. What network was it on? When was it on? All that kind of stuff. But I've never even heard of the thing. I'll have to look up a trailer for it. Anthony R. writes, casting choice for Captain Pike on Discovery is very good. He even resembles Jeffrey Hunter from the original series. Yeah, so again, earlier today on the John Campea show, in the movie news feed, we talked about how Star Trek Discovery just cast Captain Pike. Now, Captain Pike is, of course, a character from the original Star Trek series. He was the captain of the USS Enterprise before James Kirk became captain. He was Mr. Spock's commanding officer. Now, in the J.J. Abrams movie version, Bruce Greenwood played Captain Pike, and now they got a new one, and it's the guy who was the lead guy in Inhumans. And he was in another show. I can't remember the name of the other show, but it was the main guy, the lead guy from Inhumans, is now going to be Captain Pike. And yeah, you're right. He kind of looks the part. I don't know how good of an actor he is. I liked what he did in Inhumans, even though Inhumans was terrible, but I never really heard him speak. So I don't know how good or bad of an actor he is, but a lot of people seem to be very excited about the casting. And I love Star Trek Discovery. I love that show. I thought that show was going to be terrible, and I totally love it. And I don't know why there are some Star Trek fans that don't like it, because I think it's great. But hey, that's why it's all subjective. All right, Murray for Us writes, is there a movie genre the movie industry should focus more on that's underappreciated? Well, look, the movie industry only puts out what they think the audience wants to consume. Look, the movie theater industry will put out a movie about me rolling dice for 2 hours. Paramount Studios will make a movie of me just rolling dice for 2 hours if they believe the market research shows that there's an audience that would buy tickets to go see that movie. John rolling dice. In a double feature with John Campea, World's Greatest Lover. They will make that movie. So this isn't about, whether or not there are genres that they should... It's about whether or not there's an audience for genres. But I don't know. I don't really think so. Nothing is like jumping up and down. Some people yell at me, anime! And it's like, no, they've tried anime, and it's not worked. Some people say this, some people say that. And the reality is they put out pretty much what the market wants. And that's kind of the reality of the movie business. Let's see. Luna Comics writes, just want to say you're awesome and a nice guy. Well, thank you so much, Luna. I appreciate that. Patrick writes, I hope there was a scene with Loki and OG6 Avenger. Do you mean Avengers? I doubt it. I think, and this is just my theory, so no one's told me this is true, so I could be totally wrong. I think that Loki dies, in the first 10 minutes of the movie. I think the movie picks up on Thor's ship exactly where the post-credit scene of Thor Ragnarok leaves off, and I believe in that scene and sequence, Thanos beats down everybody and then ultimately kills Loki. I think he kills Loki. I hope I'm wrong. I hope all that is just one big misdirect and Loki makes it off that ship and gets back to Earth and all that kind of stuff, or hooks back up with the Guardians and Thor later on and they're just not showing us that. I hope so, but I think he's dead right there. So I do not think you're going to get your wish of seeing Loki with the original 6 Avengers. Let's see. Hopefully you're right, though. Adamus95 writes, I highly recommend Play Art's Cal Venom figure. Oh, Play Arts. That's right. I've seen some of their stuff. Hold on a second. Arts, Cal, Venom. Let's see if I can see the one you're talking about. Oh, it looks really nice. Yeah, that's a nice looking figure. I dig that. Little metallic, but other than that, it's a really nice piece. I dig that. Yeah. Okay, Murray for Us writes, wish all theaters used reserved seating already. What do they lose by implementing it? Nothing. But here's the thing. To implement it means you got to get a reliable online system in place. You've got to get a reliable online system in place. You got to go in and number all your seats, and then you got to get a reliable rock solid. But honestly, once that's done, you're done. I've been saying this, I will continue to scream this. There is no excuse. In the year 2018, there is simply no valid excuse for there to be any movie theaters left that do not have pre-assigned seating. There's just no excuse for it. So I agree. There's just no downside to it. They absolutely need to get on that. Luna Comics writes, kind of skipped this question in the campaign, in the companion video, but that's okay. Do you have a zombie survival plan? I didn't skip that question. I talked about that. I even said, go back up to Canada. My dad's at the Campea Ranch. My dad's got a lot of guns and blah, blah, blah. I addressed that one. It's in the companion video. Double check. Ben Rayner writes, news broke, Iron Dom fighting Meg in Fast and Furious 9. There you go. There's your big Hollywood $1 billion idea. Iron Dominic Toretto fighting Meg in Fast and the Furious 9. That's what it is. That's what it is. Jason Statham is actually playing Shaw. He's playing Shaw in Meg. He's actually the character Shaw. So then, The Rock's going to show up and help him fight the shark. Okay, Luna Comics writes, why do they call it Meg? I expected Meg from Family Guy to pop up and start eating everybody. Yeah, after I put up the trailer review video that I did last night, a lot of questions, and somebody mentioned on the John Campea show earlier today saying at some point Jason Statham's got to say "Shut up, Meg," which would be great. But of course, Meg is short for Megalodon, so that's why they call it the Meg. Let's see. The Number Thor writes, do you think Kylo will survive Episode 9 and the Emperor or a Snoke-type character? And I think what you meant to say, Number Thor, is do you think Kylo will survive Episode 9 and become an Emperor or a Snoke-type character for a new villain in the next saga films, Episode 10 and onward, or will he die in 9? No, I think he's dead. I think he dies in 9. I don't think they're going to stretch that one out any further. He's the villain. He's lasted 3 films, and I think he's going to bite it in the last one. Could be wrong. They could have more plans for Kylo Ren, totally. And they could go completely against what I'm expecting and like redeem him, but I don't think they're redeeming him. I think he dies. I think he dies in Episode 9. I feel pretty good about that. Mason Barr writes, I'm very excited for Meg. I hope the dog lives. That is my favorite shot in that trailer, in that Meg trailer. You see the little dog swim in. Oh, I'm just a little dog swimming. And then it sees the shark in the distance. The dog's like, fuck no, and turns around and starts swimming the other way. That was my favorite part in that. I always hope the dog lives. Sam Fisher writes, I agree with you about the Meg. I thought the song choice was off, but the choice made the trailer that much more unsettling. Yeah, so one of the things I said about the Meg trailer was that when that song kicked in, somewhere, the sea, I don't know the words, you know, when that song started playing, at first it was off-putting to me because it was so contradictory to the tone of the trailer up to that point. But then I started kind of wrap my head around it that the images were still very like frightening, and then playing that music as a juxtaposition against it. Then I started kind of getting into the song as a part of the trailer. So it's an odd choice to me, but one that for me that once I watched it through and then watched it through again, going, okay, no, I see why they use this piece of music. I get it. Number Thor writes, who is the better pilot? Anakin, Luke, Han, or Poe? Your thoughts? Well, Luke is just a pretty good pilot. You know, the most we ever heard out of Luke was that I'm a pretty good pilot myself. And I never really heard anybody say, Luke's our best pilot. Like, no one's ever said that. So I think you take Luke right out of the discussion. I don't think Luke can be considered amongst there for the best pilot. Poe is clearly awesome. Poe might even be as good or better than Han. Anakin, though, was the best starfighter in the galaxy, the best pilot in the galaxy, according to Obi-Wan Kenobi. And on top of all of his natural skills and gifts, he was able to tap in and use the Force to make himself an even better pilot. That's something Poe Dameron doesn't have, so I will go Anakin Skywalker was the best pilot. That's what I'll go. I'll go Anakin Skywalker was the best pilot there. Okay, next one. Devontae Brown writes, did you read the sad Hollywood Reporter news on Stan Lee? Well, I haven't read the newest report. I saw some new reports coming out, but there have been a lot of very head-shaking, sad stories surrounding like Stan Lee about so many people. There are people taking advantage of him. People fighting over his money, taking his money. It's very, very sad. So I haven't read the newest stories, but I do know that it's really not a good situation with Stan Lee right now. And it's really sad to see all that kind of stuff. Anthony R. writes, any chance that Jason Syndulla was a student at Luke's temple and was killed during Kylo's attack? No, I don't think so. I think the timeline for that is way off. Because if Hera's pregnant, like, yeah, no, he'd be way too old. He would be too old. So no, the timing doesn't seem to line up. So I'll go no. I'll say no. Anthony then follows up. Oops, hold a second. Let me back it up. Keep backing up. Keep backing up. Sorry, guys. Keep backing up. There we go. Okay. Now, Anthony also then writes, also, if Filoni's next series is between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, any chance Ahsoka finds Ezra and they can link up with Luke only to be killed by Kylo? That seems like really bad fan service to me. I'm going to go no. I mean, look, Dave Filoni has an irrational hard-on for the Ahsoka Tano character, and I don't get it. But he does. He's obsessed with that character. I do not know why. It's not a healthy thing. It's not a good thing. But no, I don't think that's where they're going. I've heard some whispers about where they're going with that, and I don't think that had anything to do with it. Let's see. Jedi Knight and friend to Captain Solar writes, BioShock used the Under the Sea song for... That's right, they did! For trailers before, and the juxtaposition worked better in my opinion. The Meg trailer made me want a BioShock movie. You know what? It's funny. Because when that song started playing, I remember it was a little itch inside my brain that, why did I hear this song before with another movie? What's that? It wasn't another movie, it was the BioShock stuff. You're absolutely right about that. Good observation. ZOMG Ruler writes, which is worse, Phantom Menace or Freddy Got Fingered? I'll go Freddy Got Fingered. I hate the Phantom Menace, but it's better than Freddy Got Fingered. Let's see. Next one comes to us from Thunder Knight 19, who writes, worst CGI, Henry Cavill's mustache or Scorpion King? Oh, Scorpion King, for sure. Yeah. Henry Cavill's mustache was bad by today's standards. Had you done that in the same day that Scorpion King came out, you would have thought it's amazing. Well, wait, you're telling me that actor has a full mustache and they just CGI'd it out and it would have been amazing to us. Scorpion King was everything was bad, right? So yeah, I will definitely go. The worst CGI was Scorpion King. Rose Ryan sends in support for a super chat. Thank you so much, Rose. The number Thor writes, better Conan movie, Barbarian or The Destroyer? Almost positive you've asked that question before. Same answer, Barbarian, by a mile. By a mile, Barbarian over Destroyer. Tested writes, just seen Ben-Hur, 1959, puts modern films to shame. I keep telling that. I'm so glad you watched that. Ben-Hur, the original Spartacus with Kirk Douglas, Bridge on the River Kwai, Lawrence of Arabia. Like, these are types of films that when you watch, you'll go, oh my God. Oh my God. Like, it's one of those movies. And you're right, Ben-Hur, some of those movies will put a lot of today's movies to shame. Just absolutely magnificent, stellar film. Guys, if you haven't watched Ben-Hur, the original Ben-Hur, get back there and watch it. It's so good. Matthew Ware writes, thoughts on Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2? They're my go-to rainy day movies. I really like Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2. I particularly like Part 2. Them along with Top Secret. Top Secret, I think, is my all-time favorite spoof movie. Because I don't know if I consider Spaceballs. Spaceballs is a satire movie, not so much a spoof movie, but so I won't count it in that. Top Secret, latrine! Anyway, Top Secret is so good, and Hot Shots. In particular, Hot Shots Part 2 is it's always good for a smile. That's just a movie that's always good for a smile and a chuckle and a laugh, and I really dig it. All right, let's keep going here. Next one comes to us from Joshua Stevens, who writes, love the District 9 movie. Thoughts on a sequel or prequel? Well, I think the day's pretty much come and gone for it. I honestly don't know why, after the success of District 9, why they didn't immediately go into development on a District 10. Or whatever they want, District 9 Part 2, or just District, whatever you wanted to call it, I don't care. The movie ended with a great open door for a potential sequel, but instead they didn't. And you had the director, Neil Blomkamp, go on to do some other things, and he hasn't done, feature film-wise, he hasn't done anything good since. Elysium, I thought, was a terrible disappointment. Chappie was just ass. Which is really too bad. And now I don't think anybody wants to invest money in a new District 9 movie. I really do. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall in a boardroom somewhere because somebody wanted to do it. Somebody wanted to make another District 9. Somebody would have suggested it. I just would have loved to have been a fly on the wall to hear the rationale behind not doing it. To me, that was a no-brainer. You should have moved on a new District 9 movie. There should have been another District 9 movie out 2 years after the first one came out. And they didn't. And I do not know why. It was a missed opportunity, and I think it's probably too late for them to go back. I hate that it's too late to go back, but I feel like it's too late to go back. Robert Luong writes, Just love being a part of such a positive channel. Well, thank you so much, Robert, and thank you for being part of that positive channel. It's good to have you here. Thank you for saying that. Matthew Ware writes, if you could see a new John Candy, if you could see a new John Candy or a new Chris Farley movie, which would you choose? Hey, I love Chris Farley, I really do, but John Candy. John Candy, easy, no questions asked. I would love to see another Chris Farley movie for sure, but John Candy is a god. When it comes to comedy, he's just a god, and both him and Farley both gone way too soon. If you guys get a chance, if you haven't seen a lot of Chris Farley or a lot of John Candy, some weekend, just pick 2 or 3 of each of their movies up and just bunker down for weekend and enjoy yourself and have a good time. But yeah, I would go John Candy. Tested writes, which summer blockbuster most likely fail or get buried? I mean, none of them are going to fail. None of them are. I mean, Avengers Infinity War isn't going to fail. Deadpool 2 isn't going to fail. Solo isn't going to fail. Like, if we're saying fail, like it makes $300 million total. None of them, that's not going to happen with any of them. Worst case scenario, I mean, Incredibles 2 isn't going to fail. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom isn't going to fail. I mean, these are all films, none of them are going to make under $700 million. Like, not one of them are going to make under $700 million. So that's just not even a cause for concern at this point. So really, honestly, none of them will fail or get buried. Now, if you were to ask which one would have the best chances of underperforming, I would say Solo: A Star Wars Story. But if you're putting in terms like fail or get buried, none of them are going to fail. They're all going to do well. Let's see. Number Thor writes, the better Mummy movie, the one with Brendan Fraser or the latest one from Tom Cruise? Oh, the Brendan Fraser one. And you know what? And I'm one of the people that I did not hate the new Tom Cruise one. I actually got a kick out of it. I'm not by any means saying it's a really good movie. I'm not by any means saying it's a great movie or anything like that, but I got a kick out of it. I thought it was one of those situations where the good outweighed the bad. Yeah, there was a ton of bad, but I thought there was enough good stuff in it to make it a decent time at the movie theater. So I didn't hate it. The Brendan Fraser Mummy movies are wonderful. They're just good, fun adventure. And so to me, I think that one's kind of a no-brainer. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find many people that would take the Cruise version over the Brendan Fraser version. Hey, that's just kind of the way I think about it. All right, let's move on here. The next one comes to us from Maximum Effort 44T, who writes, just watched the Supernatural episode where they literally break through the fourth wall and the boys inhabit their actors' lives. Oh my goodness, that's right. That one was a while ago. Yeah, that one was crazy. Where they come into the real world and all that kind of stuff as well. They see the fun thing about Supernatural, it's a great gritty show when it wants to be, but it can do Scooby Natural at the same time. And they have done the Supernatural's the type of show they could do just about anything they want to do. They had this one episode where they got flashed into like a sitcom world. They got flashed into our real living world. They've done Scooby Natural. They can do just anything on that show, which is just great. I totally forgot about that one. Let's see. Ricardo Ramirez writes, what's your favorite gangster movie? My favorite is Goodfellas. Well, obviously The Godfather. I mean, The Godfather is the greatest gangster movie of all time. It's quite arguably the greatest movie of all time, depending on who you ask. Goodfellas is great. Goodfellas is a great one. But yeah, it's Godfather. It's Godfather Part 2. I'd probably put Goodfellas. I keep wanting to say Good Feathers. I've got Animaniacs on the brain. I put Goodfellas ahead of Godfather 3. And I like Godfather 3. But I do put Goodfellas ahead of Godfather 3. But yeah, it's Godfather 1 and Godfather 2 in any particular order that you want. Then probably Goodfellas. And that's probably my top 3. Let's see. Joshua Stevens writes, unfortunately, I read Supernatural might end next season. How do you think they will end the show? Okay, yeah, but they've been saying they might end literally for 8 years now. For 8 seasons, they've been saying next year might be the last year. Next year might be the last year. Next year will be its 14th season. 14th season. Wrap your head around that. Most shows don't get out of season 3. I mean, well, most shows don't get out of season 1. Even those shows that do get out of season 1, most of them don't make it past 3. You're talking about a show going into its 14th season. So, if this time it actually happens and they end the show after next season, then I will have no right to complain. They will have had 14 seasons, so I will have no right to complain. So if it is, that's totally fine. If they keep going, I'll watch Sam and Dean Winchester for the next 25 years. Seriously, I will. All right. Let's see. Anna Ducks for the win writes, how far are the Leafs going to go in the playoffs? Go Ducks. It really sucks that they had such a great year and they got to play Boston in the first round. It sucks. And they don't have home ice advantage. So I don't think they're getting out of round 1. I really don't. I do not think they're getting out of round 1. I'm going to be screaming my guts out and cheering them on as loud as I can. But if I'm just being honest, I don't think they're getting out of round 1. So sad again. But at least they got into the playoffs this year. Green Arrow 7 writes, in August, I'm meeting my girlfriend for the first time. She's from New Brunswick. Good Canadian girl. What's your one piece advice for a visitor to New Brunswick? Just get to the coast as much as you can. Just get on the shore as much as you can and enjoy the food. Enjoy the food. Enjoy it greatly. Tested writes, critic who hasn't seen Sherlock. Pitiful. Which Sherlock? Are you talking about the TV show? I'm not a TV critic, so I don't know. If you're talking about the TV show Sherlock, I'm not a TV critic, so I don't know what you're getting at. Grand Drew 10 writes, hey, John, your show is awesome. Thank you so much. What do you think is more powerful, Rey at the end of The Last Jedi or Luke at the end of Return of the Jedi? Probably go Rey at the end of The Last Jedi. I mean, look, Luke is more powerful than Rey, period. But Luke at the end of Return of the Jedi versus who's more powerful, him or Rey at the end of Return of the Jedi? Or Rey at the end of The Last Jedi? I think Rey is probably more powerful. I think Rey and Kylo both have more natural power in them than Luke does. They haven't learned how to tap it, obviously, and tap into it that much yet. But I think they are both naturally more powerful than Skywalker is. And so at the end of The Last Jedi, I think Rey is more powerful than Luke is at the end of Return of the Jedi. All right. Hugh Dewsbury writes, have you seen Twin Peaks? Brilliant show. Love it. Nope. Never watched Twin Peaks. It's just never been a show that got me interested. Devontae Brown writes, in Hunchback, I always remember the villain's song. Yeah. Dark, mean. Like it's an adult kind of villain song, right? Talking about the girl and burning, and it's like, geez, really? I wasn't offended or anything, but I remember, wow, and they market this to kids. I mean, it just felt kind of dark, and I really like the movie. I think the movie's really good, but you're right. I think that's the first thing I think of when I think about the movie, Devontae, is I think of that song. I really do. Anthony Ashmask writes, I recently got the entire wave of the Infinity War Funko Pops. Oh, that's great. And they are exquisite. How much does Disney Marvel make from toy and merchandising sales? Couldn't really tell you. I don't know. I mean, Anne would know because she works with Disney. She's the contact person with Disney as a licensor for Hasbro. But I don't know. They get some cut, obviously. But I honestly have no idea what the finances of that would look like. But it's interesting, and I'm gonna have to check out those Funko Pops. I haven't bought a new Funko Pop in a while, and I may have to just buy like a whole slew of them at once now. Kalis Menon writes, hey John, got fan letter from Lucas letter, frame fine. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we were talking on the show a couple weeks ago, I think, about like physical actual fan letters, right? And it might have been you, Kalis, who actually sent one off to Lucasfilm, and you got a reply letter. That is something you frame. That is absolutely something you get on that and you frame that. So good on you. So I'm glad you got that. Let's see. Chris Martin writes, what do you think the reason is that we haven't heard another Star Wars spin-off film yet? That were at least a few years away? I mean, look, they've already made slews of announcements, from Rian Johnson's trilogy to Jon Favreau starting a television series to the Game of Thrones guys doing new Star Wars films. We've got Solo coming out. We got Episode 9 coming out. I mean, there's just, what's the point, really, of announcing a new one right now? Considering it, whatever it is, it's not coming out till 2020. So, yeah, they know what it is. But there's so much Star Wars news out there right now, and we've got 2 movies still upcoming that I really don't see. Like, the question isn't, why haven't we heard about the next one? The question would be, why would we have heard about the next one right now? Is really kind of the way I look at it. There's so much stuff going on. There's just no point in announcing the next one, I think, at this point. They know what it is, and they're probably already working on it, but there's no need to announce it right now. They want all the attention to be focused, especially right now. Now that we're in the home stretch heading into the Solo movie, they want all the attention focused on Solo. So probably after Solo releases is probably when we'll get word about what the next anthology movie is. Number Thor writes, do you think Eddie Murphy will return to voice Mushu the Dragon in the Disney live-action remake of Mulan? And if so, could it lead to a resurgence for him? Well, no. I think they already said they're not doing a dragon. Now you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I heard they've already confirmed that they're not doing, I think they're going to have a Mushu character, but it's not going to be a dragon, from what I understood. And even if they were doing it, and even if Eddie Murphy was doing the voice of it, would doing the voice of a character lead to an Eddie Murphy resurgence? No, that would not lead to a resurgence. Here's what could lead to a resurgence. They're doing a Coming to America 2. Lest you forget, Eddie Murphy is starring in Coming to America 2. Now that could lead to a resurgence, but having something like him not even being on screen and just hearing him doing a voice, that wouldn't lead to a resurgence. No, it wouldn't. And besides, I don't, as far as I know, they're not going to have the dragon, as far as I know. All right. Next one comes to us from Darth Impact, who writes, hey, John, was watching Running Scared the other night, not the Paul Walker run. One of the best cop buddy movies. Crystal and Hines, so funny. I do not even remember it. Like, I've got the vaguest recollection of the poster in my head, but I couldn't tell you thing one about that movie. That's a deep cut there, Dorothy. That's a deep cut, that one. I don't have the slightest recollection of the movie. The Paul Walker one I have a better understanding of. All right, Stepful writes, Legends of Tomorrow season finale was so great. I didn't like it. I'll be honest with you, I didn't like it. Follows up, Bebo versus Legends Big Bad. Yeah, it did not like it. I didn't like it at all. It's, you know what? I think now after 3 seasons, like for me, Legends of Tomorrow has been a show that has been like just good enough to make me keep watching. You know, I've never loved it, never hated it, but this season hasn't been great. And what they've done with Brandon Routh's character has been just pitiful, and they keep swapping out cast members. And now with this season finale, I think I might finally be at this point where I'm going to go, okay, I'm done with Legends of Tomorrow. I'm not 100%. Maybe I'll feel differently by the time next season comes, but let's put it this way. If this wasn't the season finale, I wouldn't be watching next week's episode. If there was another episode of Legends of Tomorrow next week, I wouldn't be watching. It was bad, man. That was really bad. Okay, here, let's move on. Nick James writes, in hindsight, was leaving your corporate job the right move? You happy you did it? I'm glad you did. Great show, mate. Well, thank you so much. Oh my God, no. The only thing I'm mad about was that I didn't do it sooner, to be honest with you. How much better my life is right now is I can't even begin to put it into words. And no, there are absolutely zero regrets. None. Again, the only regret I have was that I didn't do it much, much sooner. That's my big regret, was that I didn't do it sooner. So very happy doing what I'm doing now. Thank you for asking. Chris Martin writes, fan of Star Trek Beyond. Love that movie. I liked Star Trek Beyond. I did. Oh, actually, wait. So sorry, I'm getting them confused. It was Star Trek Beyond. No, the second one was Into Darkness. That's the one that Into Darkness is the one that a lot of people didn't like, and I did like. I liked Into Darkness. Yes, having Spock go, Khan! That was a bad move. They shouldn't have done that, yes. But I like the movie. But Star Trek Beyond, which was the last one, I thought it was great. I think it's the best of the J.J. Abrams era Star Trek films. I thought it was great. I really liked Beyond. It didn't do nearly as well as it deserved at the box office, so I don't know what to say about that. But yeah, I love Beyond. Okay. Koba writes, which Giant Ape movie did you enjoy more, Rampage or Kong Skull Island? Oh, they're very different movies, for sure. Man, they're different movies and they're going for different things. The Rampage movie is really stupid and really dumb, but that's what they embrace that and they go for that. And on the way, they really just go for a fun, entertaining kind of an experience, and they deliver. Some movies are stupid and dumb and they try to deliver a fun experience, but they don't deliver. Rampage does. And I like Rampage. So you know what? I might actually take Rampage over Kong Skull Island. Let me think about that a little bit more. Let me see Rampage again to know for sure, but I think I might actually take Rampage over that. Talmis Yusuf writes, Scarlet Witch might fit in Doctor Strange 2. Thoughts? Well, that's not a bad idea. Scarlet Witch could, but remember, this Scarlet Witch has nothing to do with magic. But still, if you're trying to think of another MCU character that could potentially fit into a Doctor Strange movie, Scarlet Witch is totally it. I mean, she would fit in there. Assuming either of them are alive at the end of Infinity War, that is. Anthony Ashmass writes, if you had the chance to own any one up-to-scale replica of Captain Shield's, Iron Man's helmet, or Thor's hammer, what would you pick? Love you, man. Cheers. Ooh. Well, the biggest thing would be Captain Shield, the Cap Shield, right? That could hang on the wall, look awesome. The Iron Man helmet would be cool. I think I'd go for Mjolnir. That, I think I'd go for the hammer. I'd get a nice display for it and all that kind of stuff, and no one would ever be allowed to touch it because I'll just tell them they wouldn't be able to lift it anyway. I would take any of those options, but if I had to pick just one, I think I'm going to go for the hammer. Although the Iron Man helmet would be really cool too, but I'm going to go for the hammer. Yeah, I'm sticking with that. Sticking with Thor's hammer. All right. Chris Martin writes, if we get an Obi-Wan spinoff, what would you like to see? Villain, movie style? Again, I don't care. I do not care. I've answered this specific question about Obi-Wan before, and I'll give you the exact same answer. Don't care. I'm not one of these fans that goes into, well, I have some little fantasy, whatever, but I'm not one of these fans that goes into saying they need to do this and this and this. I really don't care. Whatever their story is, whatever their villain are, I just hope it's something that expands the universe and doesn't make it smaller. I don't want to see, Darth Maul, the villain, again, anything. If I had to choose anything, I'm just going to go grand scale stuff and say, I just hope that whatever they do, be it villain, be it tone, whatever, that it's something that expands the Star Wars lore as opposed to contracting the Star Wars lore. And other than that, whatever they want to make their villain, I don't even want to theorize about it. I just want to appreciate and enjoy whatever it is they do with it. So that's kind of how I feel about it at this point. Let's see. Wait a second, sorry. Don't usually have 2 jumps in a single day. Okay, there we go. Anand writes, hey John, thoughts on recent Flashpoint news? What Flashpoint news? I'm not familiar. Are you talking about the guys who are writing it? Let's see. Sorry, man. You have to be more specific. I don't know what it is you're talking about when you say what piece of recent Flashpoint news. I just don't know what it is we're talking about. DKid19 writes, my theater has reserved seating for IMAX movies only. Is that normal for most theaters? No, there are some theaters. For instance, the movie theater by me, the AMC Burbank 16. When they put in the AMC Prime Theater in there, it was the only theater for a bit that had assigned seating. But very shortly after that, they expanded it to all of them. So it's not unusual. But again, there's just no excuse. There is no excuse not to have pre-assigned seating. So here's hoping they switch over. But no, that's not a terribly unusual thing. At least it's a start, right? At least it's a start. And again, my movie theater up the street from me, that's how it started. With one theater, its big main theater, had pre-assigned seating. And then they started to add the rest after that. So here's hoping the same happens with your local theater as well. Okay, Nick James writes, I live in Sydney, Australia, grew up in the same suburb as Hugh Jackman. Oh, that's so cool. He was captain of my school, but he's like 25 years older, so well before my time. Still, you get to say you went to the same high school. Sorry, guys, my voice is starting to go. You get to say you went to the same school as Hugh Jackman, and that is pretty cool. So find out what his locker was. Maybe you can take a picture of his locker. That's pretty cool. Doesn't matter if it was 25 years removed. Gabriel Gutierrez writes, Hey, John, I just saw your commercials before movies rant video from 2009. That's right. I thought it was hilarious. Assigned seating must have helped for that. Well, yeah, I mean, because like where I come from in Canada, I don't know if they still do it, but what I don't mind is trailers before movies. Trailers are a part of the movie-going experience, so I don't mind that per se, right? What drove me crazy as a film fan and what made me make this video back in 2009 was that, think of everything else, right? If you get a free service online, you get ads. But if you pay for the service, they take away the ads, right? So when you pay for something, like you watch free cable channels, there's ads. If you pay for the premium service, like I pay for Netflix, I give Netflix $20 a month, I expect there to be no commercials because I'm paying them for it. You know, I get the Hulu premium service, I don't have to pay. For what drove me crazy back in 2009 was the notion that I paid to be in this movie theater. I paid you $12 to come in here and be in this movie theater for what you said was a 7 o'clock showtime. You said in your ads, such and such movie, 7 p.m. Fine. I come, I pay you my $12. I sit in my seat. If I'm there a few minutes early and you want to play trailers and commercials, whatever, that's your time. Because you didn't say it started till 7. So if I'm there at 6:55 and you're playing other commercials, that's fine, because that's your time. But once 7 o'clock hits, that's my time that I paid for. I paid for that time. You said 7 p.m. I'm here at 7 p.m. I paid to be in here. I paid for this time. It's my time. And what used to drive me crazy was then there would be 12 minutes of commercials. Not trailers, commercials. Car ads, feminine hygiene ads, candy ads, blah, blah, commercials, as if I was in there for free. Like, you want to let me in a movie theater for free, and to get the free movie, I got to sit through 15 minutes of commercials. Okay, no problem. Fair deal. Fair deal. But that's not the case. I paid for this fucking seat. I paid to be in here. So you can take those commercials, you can shove them up your ass. Anyway, that's how I feel about it. I felt very passionate about it. I still do to this day. Fortunately, where I live now, they don't play commercials before movies. They still do trailers, yes. And having pre-assigned seating means, guess what? Even if it's opening night of Avengers Infinity War and the showtime is 7 o'clock, I don't have to show up till 7:15 if I don't want to, and I know my seat's going to be there. I can skip the trailers. I can walk in 5 minutes before I know the movie's going to start, and I don't have to worry about not having my seat because I'm going to have my seat. Anyway, all the benefits in the world of having pre-assigned seating. Anthony writes, did you see that shot in the new Infinity War TV spot where Thanos walked into Wakanda? He has 5 stones in the gauntlet, including the Soul Stone. Intentional or mess up because it's seen only on social media platforms. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? I've been talking about that. People have been asking me about that shot for the last 2 days. And I'm just going to say what I've said for the other 5 times. I don't care. I really don't care. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything when we saw Thanos his hand hammering down on Cap and seeing 2 stones. It doesn't matter if it shows him with 5 stones coming through the portal. It doesn't matter if it shows him with 85 stones in this shot and 4 stones in that one and 723 shots in that one. It doesn't matter because you don't know the context. It's just random images. We know he's going after the stones. Anything after that is just random images. You don't know if that shot is a potential future that Doctor Strange could see. You don't know if that shot was back 1,000 years ago when Thanos came that close to getting the full gauntlet. You don't know if it's happening right there at that moment in the movie. You don't know if it's a nightmare sequence. I mean, the thing is, there's no context. And without context, there's no meaning. So it's a cool, fun shot, but it's absolutely pointless to discuss because we don't have any context for the shot, like whatsoever. So it could mean everything and it could mean absolutely nothing. So I don't care. I mean, that's kind of the basis, underlying thing is I don't care about that whatsoever. When I watch it in the movie and I have context, I'll care a hell of a lot. As of right now, I just don't care about it. Jen K writes, just sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Jen. That's very nice of you. Number Thor writes, better movie, Arnold's Total Recall or the remake? You know what? People do not like me for saying this. I like the remake better. I liked the Colin Farrell remake better. I did. Everybody hates me for saying that. You got Kate Beckinsale, you got Jessica Biel, you got Bryan Cranston in there. It was directed by Len Wiseman. I prefer. That's probably because I'm one of the people that did not love Arnold's Total Recall. I know a lot of people consider it a big classic, and that's cool, but that's why all films are subjective. I'm actually one of those lone loser guys in the corner who's like, I actually kind of preferred the remake. I know that's not the cool thing to say. I get it. A lot of you are screaming at me through your computer monitors right now, and that's fine. But I've always got to be honest with you. I got to tell you the truth, and the truth is, that's how I feel about that. All right, we just got a couple of minutes left here. Walden writes, Felipe the Sentient Dancing Microphone, a Star Wars story. I still cannot get over. I love Lucasfilm. Love Lucasfilm. But really, why they removed anthology. Because remember, it was going to be Rogue One anthology, like a Star Wars anthology. And they replaced that with a Star Wars story. Stupidest thing they've ever done. Not as dumb as Jar Jar, but, amongst the stupidest things they've ever done. Certainly the stupidest thing they've done since Disney took over Star Wars. I hate a Star Wars story. I hate that tag. It just grades on me. Like, I feel like my spine knotting up whenever I hear it. But so, yeah, Felipe the Sentient Dancing Microphone, a Star Wars story. Pirate King Victor, I love that name. Here you go, big boy. Thanks for the great content. Oh, thank you so much, Pirate King. I appreciate that. Great name, by the way. Nick James writes, I've never heard of unassigned seating in the cinema until your show, and I'm 21. In Sydney, we just get to pick our seats. Can't believe you have to get to the theater hours early on a popular showing. Tell me about it. Tell me about it, Nick. And that's the thing. It's like when I would have these discussions with people, I would say, because not only from you, Nick, I've been getting email for years from people in different countries around the world going, wait a minute, time out. You guys in America don't have pre-assigned seating? Like, you have to just show up like a horde pack of unwashed, like, savages and just fight over a seat? If it's an opening weekend for a big film, you got to get there and stand like a moron in a line for like 3 or 4 hours just so hopefully you don't get a neck breaker seat? Like, seriously, the rest of the world has looked at us in North America like we're a bunch of savages. Like, seriously, it's embarrassing. It's quite frankly, it's embarrassing. Yeah, but yes, man, and when it comes to our movie theater going experience in North America, apparently we're still in the dark ages. We are finally coming out of the dark ages. More and more theaters are finally starting to adapt pre-assigned seating, but we still got a little ways to go. All right. Last question of the day. But listen, guys, if you have a question waiting and I don't get around to it here in the live show, don't worry about it. I will take those questions. I will copy and paste them into my document, and they will be addressed on tomorrow morning's companion video. So the companion video I'm putting up at like 5 in the morning, Pacific Standard Time. That's 8 a.m. New York time. So it goes up at like 5 a.m. in the morning. If I don't get to the question you have, so we're going to start it with Koba. Well, no, Koba's won't be first because I have the John Campea show wants to do first. But they're all going to be in that companion video tomorrow morning, so don't worry about it. All right. Cyberslave666 writes, John, have you eaten at Pier Burger on Santa Monica Pier? Those are some great burgers. Love your show. No, I have not. You know what? Here's an embarrassing thing. I've been here for about 8 years, maybe 9. I've only ever been to the Santa Monica Pier like 4 times. I've only ever gone like once every 2 years. It's only like a 45-minute drive from me, and I've only been there like 4 times. And that's ridiculous. You know what? I think I'm going to go sometime this month. Ann and I will probably just run down there, and I will take a look for this place you're talking about. I will specifically look for Pier Burger. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. It is my favorite thing to do here. Thank you guys so much for being here, contributing to the conversation, contributing to the show as well, and thanks for just being a film fan with me. Listen, guys, don't forget the John Campea Show is back again tomorrow morning. Open mic every afternoon at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 5 p.m. on the East Coast. Make sure you join us then. That'll do it for now, guys. My name's John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.